longevity today. Who wants to live more? We want energy, right? We want energy, we want clear thoughts, the whole 9 yards. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And so let's see here. So what kind of 90-plus-year-old would you like to be? That's my question. So, you know, I have clients in all sorts of realms. And I have this sweet, sweet lady that I go and I train, and she is 94 years old. And she sits in a chair, and she never stands up, and she feeds her grandkids candy, and they come and they play at her feet, and that's all they do. Then on the other hand, you know, I have another client of mine he's in his late 80s, and he's at the playground running around with his grandkids and having a great time. So it's what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of energy level do you want to have? And all of that, funny enough, is very related to what we eat and how we eat. And that's going to have a lot to do with how we feel. So that's one of the biggest things. And so we want to play, we want to laugh, we want to enjoy our days, we want to move with ease, travel the world, and do whatever it is that we want to do. And we want to just be happy and enjoy life, right? That's a big part of it, everything. So with that said, we have two choices. We can either age gracefully or we can age not so gracefully. So we'd like to try to age gracefully. Has anybody ever heard about the alkaline acid ratio? Okay, to give you just the abridged version of it, right? Basically, our body likes to be kind of in the middle. Okay? But if we are too acidic, we actually feed disease. So if our body's too acidic, it's a much better place for cancer, diabetes, osteoarthritis, everything. It's just a much better place. On the other hand, if we can create a little bit more balance and become more alkalonic, then those diseases don't have as comfortable of a home. Let's put it that way. So we'd like them not to be comfortable, right? Because we want to have a very, very healthy body. And as we get into this, I'll tell you how you can easily check your acid-alkaline ratio, because it's not hard. You don't have to go to a doctor for it. It's something you can simply do. We also need to maintain lean muscle mass, right? Because the leaner we are, the healthier we are. The way the research states is the further away your belly button is from your spine, the higher chance you have of heart disease and diabetes. Pull it in, just hold it in. Hold it in, right? Okay, we want to eat fresh, organic, unprocessed. Increase the amount of essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are just a huge thing. I do a lot of family workshops with kids, and I do a lot of other workshops just for adults, right? And so when it comes to essential fatty acids, for a child, it's what helps to build and develop the brain. And us, for adults, it's what helps us maintain our brain. We need to have those essential fatty acids so that our brain is working at 100% at all given times. So we're going to also go over the foods that's going to help that. We need to stay hydrated. Hydration is imperative. And we need good sleep, right? So now if we don't want to age gracefully, we basically do all of the opposite. And that's what's going to start to tear down our body, and that's what we don't want. We don't want our frame, if we're overweight, our frame genetically was built to sustain a certain amount of weight. So if we put too much weight on our frame, on our bones, it's going to start to pull us down, and it's going to cause issues because our body wasn't designed for that. That's why being lean is so important. We also want to really work on trying not to consume so many processed foods. So for example, an apple, right? An apple, uncooked apple. An apple is born with vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. And the enzymes to me are everything, because the enzymes are like a chemical code, little combination here that tells our body very specifically what to do with everything. Put the fiber here, the vitamins here, and get rid of the rest. Well, if anything has been processed or heated, the enzymes are dead. So unfortunately, you could buy a food that is fat-free, organic, and it's a cracker. And it's a multi-grain cracker, but because there's no enzymes in it, your body's still going to take it in and go, you know what? I have two choices with this cracker. They're going to go on the treadmill, so I can use those calories for energy on the treadmill, or they're going to go sit on the sofa and watch television, so I'm going to take those calories and just store them as fat. Those are our choices if something doesn't have those enzymes that really tell us what to do. So our key is we really want to promote eating as much fresh vegetables and fruit as we possibly can so that those enzymes totally consume our body and fill our body and put the right vitamins and minerals in the right places. Does that make sense? Yeah? So that's something that we really want to work on. I know a lot of times the processed meals are a little bit easier and quicker, but unfortunately they start deteriorating our health and they're really not worth it. I always tell people that you want to look at your health this way. I'm sure that all of you guys invest your money in something, right? Maybe? Investments of some sort, right? Okay? But if I came here today and I said, okay, I want you guys to invest your money in me, and I'm not going to give you anything back, would you invest your money in me? Of course not. That would be a silly investment, right? So when it comes to food, your investment is vitamins and minerals. So if you're going to eat something, you want to get a return, and the return is going to be nourishment. And if it's not going to give you nourishment, then it's kind of like, why? So it's not to say that we can't have a treat now and then. You know, it's not to say that we can't, you know, we're at a party and they have this wonderful piece of cake, that we can't have a little bit of cake. But why do we want to sit there and have all that cake when it does nothing for us but tear our body down? It doesn't really make sense that way. So now, at the same time, too, we have something called our adrenal glands. And our adrenal glands are our energy receptors. They are the things that give us energy when we need it. Okay? One of the unfortunate things, though, is that there's certain foods that give us a false sense of energy. Caffeine, sugar, flour, and dairy. They all give us a false sense of energy. So if you start looking at your day and you look at, they call it SAD, which is the standard American diet. They call it SAD because it's kind of sad. So it's sad because what it does is it puts in a lot of caffeine, a lot of flour, a lot of sugar. And so you feel like you've got this energy throughout the day, and then the minute you start to fall, you crave something. So you crave a cracker, a cookie, a cup of coffee. You crave maybe a sugary drink. And it's your body's way of saying the energy is dying, I need another pick-me-up. And it's this false sense of energy. So what you'd like to do is kind of put yourself in a position where you have a natural sense of energy all day long, and you don't have to depend on a craving to give you, I mean, it sounds bad, but to give you the next high. Because we don't want to do that. We want our body to be providing that high all the time. So, we want to nourish our adrenal glands. That's one of the biggest keys. We need to nourish our adrenal glands. And in order to do that, we do need to get plenty of rest. We need to be able to wake up feeling rested. How many of you guys wake up and you're like, oh, I can't get out of bed? That's not a good thing. You want to wake up, I saw that hand down there, right? You want to wake up feeling like, oh, it's a new day. I can do whatever I want to do, right? So we need to work on rituals that are going to get us that rest. Eating a lot of fresh, raw foods. Not to say that you have to become, you know, the new trend is that raw food, vegan, raw foodist kind of thing. Not to say that you have to do that, but to incorporate raw foods in every meal and snack you eat. So if you're going to eat a cooked dinner, if you're going to eat a steak and vegetables, incorporate a salad, something raw. So that way you have those enzymes in there. I always tell people, you know, at the end, granted, vegetables have less sugar than fruit. But if your only choice is fruit, then put fruit on the plate. Because it's raw and it's going to give you the enzymes and it's going to give you lots of vitamins. So that's what we'd like to really, really try to do. We want to try to end up creating this rainbow of fruits and vegetables that we eat throughout the day. Okay? And then if we want to deplete it, right, we need to remember that things like caffeine, it creates a stress in our body, and we have enough stress in life. So if you look at all of you guys, I'm assuming because you have this beautiful spa here, everyone exercises, yeah? Okay. Exercise is a stress. Right? So if you have a high stress day, one of the things I teach my clients at all times is that you have to be able to recognize when you should work out and when you should work in. Meaning that if you're a stockbroker and you've been in traffic all day long and you get to the gym, Working out might not be the best thing to do. Working in, like choosing an activity like yoga or Pilates that day, might be a better choice. Not to say you can't work out, but then you work out on a day that you don't have that full day of stress. Does that make sense to you guys? So it's kind of like choosing, because really what you want to do is you just want to make sure the body moves. So to stop a workout, in a sense, to not weight train and to do yoga one day, it's not going to throw you back. It's not going to mean that you're not going to become as fit as you would have if you would have stayed with weight training every single day. It's a matter of moving your body and learning what's going to actually enhance your total well-being. So we want to stay away from the sugar, flour, and dairy. You're going to hear me say that a lot today. And the reason is because sugar, flour, and dairy, they all metabolize as a sugar, which means that if you take a cracker that has no sugar in it, right, it's just flour, and you consume the cracker, the way your body registers it as a sugar, and it metabolizes it that way. It gives you a little bit of a high from it, and it metabolizes as a sugar. And the more sugars we put into our system, the more we actually feed disease and we deplete our adrenal glands. So we want to try to create some kind of a balance there. And then, of course, we talked about lack of sleep and stress. So, our adrenal depleting day for the average person. This is kind of it's a little bit of my mix with the standard American diet, right? So, waking up pretty early, only getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep, cup of coffee with cream and sugar. So now, if you look at that, that's all sugar. Cream, a dairy, and sugar. So, and then of course the caffeine. Can you see there? Okay. If you can't, tell me, please. Okay. Then we have toast, jam, and a glass of juice. Well, that's all sugar too, right? It's all going to metabolize the sugar, and then we go for a workout. So we kind of break some of that down in our workout, but still we've had no protein and we've had nothing to sustain our energy levels. Because the thing with sugar too is that it gives us a spike of energy and then we fall. So the ideal situation is to give us something that'll kind of slow down the spike and then make the energy last for a longer period of time. And that is where fat and protein come in, because they take longer to digest and they help sustain our energy. And that's what we'd like to try to do. So now after our workout, we do the cup of coffee, cream, and sugar again, and we go to work, for those who work, right? And then we have lunchtime. We have iced tea with sugar and a sandwich, Diet Coke and 2 cookies. This is actually the diet of one of my clients, and I got mad at him for that one. And then we drive home, so now we got stressed, and we go home and we have wine, and then we have pasta with meat sauce and wine. So if you look at this, the only protein that got in that day is maybe something that was in that sandwich and a little bit of the meat from the meat sauce, but everything else metabolizes as sugar. Okay, so that's going to deplete our adrenal glands, because that means that it was giving us a false sense of energy throughout the day. We were not sustaining our energy of the day with our foods. We were unnaturally sustaining the energy of our day with our foods. So, why don't we change that? Let's do an adrenal day, right? So we want to get 8 hours of sleep. That would be the ultimate goal, waking up so that we feel refreshed. Drinking 2 glasses of water first thing in the morning. I tell clients all the time, on your bathroom countertop, place a ginormous glass of water there, so that when you get out of bed, that's the first thing you do is you drink water. That helps to flush out the system and flush out all the toxins that have been sitting in our system as we were sleeping. So we want to flush ourselves out. Then we start off with eggs, slice of fruit, and some green tea. Green tea provides us antioxidants. Remember that return, that investment on return, right? So I want something that's going to give me a good investment. So green tea is a great choice, because now it's going to give me some antioxidants. I got slice of fresh fruit, so now that's my raw fruit right there, and I'm going to get vitamins, and I got my protein from my eggs. Next my goal is going to be to have 8 glasses of water throughout the day. Okay? This is going to sound weird, but just listen up. You want your urine to be clear, not yellow, not kind of yellow. You want it clear. Clear means you're fully hydrated. And here's the thing. How many people go on the treadmill to lose body fat? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. If you go on the treadmill and you are not fully hydrated, you will tear down muscle tissue and not fat tissue. So 2 people on the treadmill, they're doing the exact same amount of work. One person has been living on coffee and iced tea and not drinking enough water during the day, and the other person has been just drinking tons of water throughout the day. The person drinking tons of water throughout the day is burning more fat than the other person. Okay, so we want to be hydrated. Apple with the nut butter. So again, it's taking that raw fruit. Nut butters are like almond butter or cashew butters. You want to make sure that when you do nuts, they are raw. So even the nut butter should be raw. So now you have the enzymes and you're having a little bit of protein and a little bit of fat to help sustain your energy for a longer period of time. We have a mixed green salad with some grilled chicken on it. Right? Again, adding the protein, there's probably a little bit of olive oil on that to give you the fat, and again, sustaining your energy. Because think of it this way, if you had a salad that just had vegetables, or actually, let me take that back. Let's just do an iceberg lettuce and some tomatoes. And I gave you that for lunch. You'd be starving in 10 or 15 minutes. It wouldn't really sustain you. But you take that same salad, add more vegetables, so you have a whole array of vitamins and minerals in there, and then you add some protein and some fat. Those calories will now last you for a much longer period of time. And that's what we want to get to. Then a cup of green tea and a 1-hour workout, a handful of raw nuts. Nuts are great because they also have in some carbohydrates in there. So they're a great way of adding that carbohydrate, protein, and fat coming from one source. Then we have grilled salmon and veggies and some kava tea to go to sleep. How's that sound for you? Okay? Sound good? No? Sounds terrible? Oh.
With the martinis.
Now, it's not to say that we can't have the wine and the martini, but the key here is you want to make sure that you're drinking enough water and bringing in enough vitamins and minerals from everything else so that you can really enjoy that luxury. Okay? We'll get more into it. You watch. Dark chocolate, absolutely. I should have put that on there. Dark chocolate, a must. A must. Okay, so we want to enhance our immune system. Sugar, so it goes back to sugar, flour, dairy, will actually suppress our immune system. So if we walk into a crowd of people and someone has the flu and we just had a cookie, we have actually opened up our immune system to say, you know what, I'm not going to react right now, and you have a better chance of getting sick than the person next to you who didn't have the cookie. I know it sounds weird.
Could I ask you about the dairy?
Absolutely.
Is yogurt considered dairy?
Yes. Yeah. Yogurt, cheese.
I love yogurt.
Cottage cheese.
And I never think I'm eating sugar when I'm eating yogurt or cottage cheese.
Absolutely. And so what you want to do, if it's something that you really, really love, what you want to try to combine it with more protein. Well, see, blueberries, again, blueberries are wonderful because they're filled with antioxidants, but it has a high content of sugar to it. So you're better off. I do it's a nut mix that I make, and so what I do is in a Cuisinart, I pulverize raw almonds, raw cashews, hemp seeds, chia seeds, sprouted pumpkin seeds, sprouted sunflower seeds, and I make this powder. And that powder, I can use it for anything, right? And so you could take that powder and mix it in with your yogurt. And it doesn't really change the taste, but now you've added some good quality protein and some fat to it. Okay, so fruits and vegetables, the darker, the richer the color, the more nutrients they provide. There's something called the Andy score, and I love it. Whole Foods is the one who kind of like kicked that off. And what it is, next time you go, anybody go to Whole Foods? Okay. When you go to Whole Foods and you're in the produce section, look at the little sign that tells you how much, kale is or whatever. And there's something on the bottom corner that says Andy score. So for example, kale is 1,000, which means that it has a very high nutritional density. So for every bite you eat, you're getting a lot of nutrition. Iceberg lettuce has like 100, if that, or 80. So you're not getting a lot of nutrition from it. So it's just something to kind of play around with. Rest and relaxation, again, I go back to that, and stress management. Depletion, processed foods throughout the day. It's one thing to have a processed foods should be more like a treat here and there. It shouldn't be your main diet. It should not be your main staple. If you think about it, your body, it's your temple. And the only person who is responsible for your health is you. It's not your doctor, it's not me, it's not anybody else but you. And what you feed yourself is going to reflect on how you live, function, and breathe, and all of your energy. And so you have to think of it that way. So when you're eating something, you got to think about, is it really nourishing my body? And that's what you want to try to do. Again, I go back sugar, flour, dairy, right? The lack of sleep and stress, and then maintaining the acid and alkaline ratio. So here's the thing with acid and alkaline ratio. There's have you ever seen pH strips? It's like a little piece of paper and it comes in this little thing, right? If you pee on it, your first morning pee, and the little thing will tell you, it'll give you like a graph where it tells you what the numbers are. It's usually 6.5 to 7 is what you'd like to have, and that's what you look at. And if you see it and it looks like it's too acidic, then you know what? You got to change some things in your diet. And sometimes there'll be some days that you're more acidic because maybe you went out to dinner and you had a couple more glasses of wine than you usually do, and then the next day you eat better and your acidity goes down and you're back to being alkaline. But it's a great way of telling how you're taking care of yourself internally.
Do statins lower your acidity?
They can. They can, but it's very rare. It has to do with how you're metabolizing them.
The world.
Huh?
Nexium.
You know what? All medication puts a toll on us, okay? And so when we put a toll on our systems like that, there's going to be some acidity from it. And that's why it's even more important to really nourish yourself with vitamins and minerals.
If a Nexium is blocking the production of acid, why would it reduce the acidity in your body?
Because it's not acid as you're thinking of acid. Like, so, for example, like acid reflux, because that's something we can all kind of look at, right? It's not that acid. It's how we break down foods and the acidity that happens from breaking down foods. So another example is that a lemon, you would think a lemon is acidic, and it's not. It's alkalonic. So it has to do with how we break down foods, not necessarily how it's coming out from us. Does that make sense? I can get you a much better description. Later on, you and I can talk, and I can get you a much better description of it.
Drinking alkaline water.
You had to bring that up, didn't you? Again, it goes on. Here's the challenge with that. That water, you can test that water and it is alkaline, okay? And when you consume it, it is alkaline, but it's not going to change your habits. So what's happening is people are drinking alkaline water, but they're still eating donuts, drinking coffee, eating cake and crackers and everything else, thinking, oh, but I'm drinking alkaline water, so I must be alkalonic. That's not going to solve the problem. Okay? So it's something that you can add to yourself, but it's not going to change what you consume. Okay.
So in your world, you cannot drink coffee at all?
You can drink coffee, but you need to balance it out. You need to make sure you're hydrated well. I recommend more of the organic coffees because, again, pesticides and chemicals tend to create more acidity in our bodies. So if you're going to drink coffee, I usually recommend people drink, more of an organic coffee, and I recommend that you don't drink it all day long. So you find some other things that help satisfy. Like, I realized I used to drink coffee, and I gave it up just because I gave it up. But when I gave it up, I realized that what I like that warm cup of anything, really. And so then I got more into teas, and I started seeing all the benefits of all the different teas. So now I mix teas and create all these little tea concoctions.
Regular tea is also has
well, there's wonderful herbal teas out there though that have a lot of really good. They have a lot of really good properties.
Not commercialized herbal. We're talking.
Yeah.
There's a difference between what's marketed to you and sold to you as healthy and herbal and what truly is.
Yeah, it's kind of sad how, like, you can't really depend on what you get in the grocery store, and you can't depend on Whole Foods either.
No, you can't.
I have people that say, oh, but I got it at Whole. They come to me, oh, I bought all this stuff at Whole Foods, so it must be good. And it's like, no, honey, it's not good. Okay, so you have to read labels.
Yeah,
they can place organic on the outside of a food label as long as 10% of the ingredients are organic. So you literally have to look on the ingredients, and each ingredient has to say organic. Organic flour, organic sugar, organic, each one does. And if they don't, and then you'll start to, when you start doing that, you'll start to recognize how some of your favorite products might only have really 2 organic ingredients and everything else isn't. So, you know, unfortunately, you have to look at things and be very aware. So our sugar and our blood cells and what happens to our immune system, right? Yes?
I hate to tell you this, but we all exercise and then we have bagels and coffee. I mean, they supply it.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. If you exercise, well, but again, you know, when I deal with children, with families and kids, it's very funny because one of the things people do is when they take their kids to a birthday party, they typically take their kids hungry. And then the kids gorge on everything that's there, like wild raging I have 2 kids. Wild raging banshees. I don't. I feed my kids eggs before we go to a party because it's a high protein, fat meal. So that when they go to the party, they taste. They don't feel like they have to eat too much of anything. So the same thing kind of goes. Just because they put the bagels out doesn't mean you have to eat them.
And I am changing it to fresh fruits.
You are?
Yes, I'm totally open as long as the majority, otherwise, you know, I have to go with what the majority wants. Majority rules.
There's a sign we have to have bagels.
Oh, there's a sign? No, fresh fruit. Think of it this way too. You've just worked out. You've torn, I mean, this is what happens. You tear down your muscles, right? You deplete yourself of water and a little bit of oxygen, and you'd like to nourish yourself when you're done with that workout so that you can repair your muscle tissue better. So you're much better off having fruit than you would be a bagel. Bagel doesn't give you anything back. We want stuff back. The importance of the sun. We need vitamin D. And in this age where everyone says, oh no, slather yourself up with sunscreen and, you know, and go outside. And then they're wondering, why is it that we're depleted in calcium? And why are we depleted in all these other vitamins and minerals? We need vitamin D from the sun. And I always recommend to people, you need at least 10 minutes of being out in our beautiful sun outside with no sunscreen whatsoever. And you're not going to get burned in 10 minutes. But you're going to soak up that vitamin D, and that's going to make a huge difference in the density of your bones, okay? And it's going to make a huge difference in how your muscles metabolize fat. So it's something that we really want to keep in there. It's going to increase your immunity. It's going to help strengthen your teeth and your gums. And it's going to also help you absorb vitamins and minerals throughout the day. Because you have to remember, too, that no vitamin and mineral works by itself. Okay? They all work synergistically. And one of the things is our body was meant to take things in their natural state. I always tell people that supplements should be just that. And I'm going to have a slide that ends up saying it, but I'm going to say it now. Supplements should be something that supplements your diet in a place that you're not getting it because you can't get it from food. Okay? But I would much prefer to see you get everything from food and life than I would for you to be taking a pill. Okay? So when it comes to vitamin D, you're much better off getting a little bit of sun than you are actually consuming a supplement of it. To-do list. You want to increase your heart rate somehow, some way every day, right? Eat at least 80% of your foods unprocessed. Keep that processed thing just for a treat. Choose organic when possible and eat for the activity of your day and your health. So here we go. You've got a day that you're running errands all day long, you're working out, you also want to try to come back and take another class later on in the afternoon. You've got a very hectic day. That day you can have more calories than usual. Now, it's a weekend, and maybe there's football on, and you're going to stay at home on the couch all day long and watch football, or you're going to do something very low-key all day long. You don't need as many calories. So you want to really, again, you know, unfortunately, we have all been trained by our families and ancestors that food is socialization, food is comfort, food is enjoyment with friends, food is all this stuff. I'm sorry, food is fuel. And a Ferrari does not put gas in itself to have fun with other Ferraris. A Ferrari puts gas in itself so that it can be a high-performance automobile, so it can go fast and that it won't break down. Okay? And that's what we want to do with our food. Drink lots of water and get plenty of rest. So essential fatty acids, like I had mentioned before, this is all for brain support. So walnuts, almonds actually have essential fatty acids also. Flax seeds, hemp seeds, and chia seeds. Hemp seeds and chia seeds are awesome because they are a complete protein in and within themselves. So you're actually getting a huge amount of protein. Hemp seeds have no flavor. So you can put them on something and it's not going to detract from your flavor. I actually use hemp seeds when I am making hummus. I add them in there because now it adds a complete protein into my hummus, right? But you don't taste it. It's there, you don't taste it. I add it onto my salad. Mixed up with olive oil, it kind of gets this funky consistency of almost like a cheese on there, right? But you don't really taste it. Coconut oil, coconut butter, all the coconut products are actually wonderful for us. And then, of course, wild salmon, and we're going to be talking about some seafood things after this one soon here. So vitamins, they work synergistically. So here's the thing. If you want to absorb your EFAs, so those are your essential fatty acids, you need to have vitamin B6, A, C, E, magnesium, zinc, copper, and selenium in your system. If you don't have these in your system, you're not going to, you could be eating the best walnuts on earth. You're not going to absorb them the way you want to. So it's a matter of getting enough vitamins and minerals throughout the day. We need 96 vitamins and minerals throughout our day. So if you think of it this way, it's like having 96 cups on a table. Some are half full, some are half empty. And our goal is to eat throughout our day to keep filling them up so that we have enough vitamins and minerals for everything. How many people have heard that salt is bad for blood pressure? Right? Okay. I'm going to tell you why, though. Okay? Morton's salt. They stripped it of everything it has. So what happens is that if we use that salt, it steals from us the vitamins and minerals that it needs to break itself down in our system. Those same vitamins and minerals are what help regulate our blood pressure. So that's where the problem arises. So now you get something like a Himalayan sea salt or Celtic sea salt, which looks kind of wet and gray. The color's never consistent. Have you ever seen those, right? They look kind of funky, and you look in the bag, it looks a little humid in there, right? Those come with all the vitamins and minerals that they need to break themselves down. So they don't rob us of anything. So those are better salt choices than getting a regular white table salt, okay? So we've got things like corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup. Those have been linked to high cholesterol. The reason they're linked to high cholesterol is because when we ingest them, they actually cause nicks, little cuts in our arteries. And our body, in order to repair those nicks, makes us produce cholesterol and uses cholesterol like spackling. You know what spackling is? You know when you're fixing a wall and there's a hole in it and you put that white stuff on it? So our bodies actually produce cholesterol like spackling to fix the nicks from corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup. Manufacturers, though, love corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup because it's a cheap form of sugar and it's addictive. So they know they got you hooked, right? In the United States, we are the only country that manufactures Coca-Cola made from high fructose corn syrup. In Europe, they will not allow that. They have to manufacture Coca-Cola made with sugar. And that's why it tastes a little different when you're in Europe, okay? But here they allow it, and so then we just get hooked on it, okay? And it doesn't do our body good. Hi, Joe. So we want to start looking at some of these things that we're putting in our bodies. Table salt moves away that magnesium and it throws it into our urine. Well, we need that magnesium to help stabilize our blood pressure. Okay, phosphates. That blocks the absorption of calcium and magnesium. Phosphates are used in just about every processed food, every packaged item that needs a preservative, okay? But yet it robs us from something. So it's like, why are we then bothering to take it? Pesticides. Pesticides rob all sorts of things from our system, okay? And it weakens our immune system at the same time. So think of it this way. How many of you guys care if you have an apple that is organic or not? You got to be honest with me. You don't care. You could care less. Okay? So, but let me ask you something though. If I was up here and Cheryl was like, yeah, we're going to put apples there for after the workouts, and I took a can of Raid and started spraying all the apples and said, here, Cheryl, put them in the bowl, right? Would you want to eat that?
I'd peel it.
That was good and that was quick. I like that. I really do like that, okay? But we don't need all that, okay? And so you got to kind of think of it that way. And unfortunately, the soils through time, they get so filled with the pesticides that now our foods aren't doing that well. There's something called genetically modified. Do you guys know what that is? Yeah. Okay, so yes.
I know what GMOs are.
You do?
Like Cato and Hartfield, they're the experts of it.
Okay.
They modify all the corn and all the fruits and everything else.
They modified for just, I mean, there's a lot of other explanations, but there's two main ones that always get me. They modify the seed so that the plant will withstand high amounts of pesticides and not die, which means that they spray it with even more pesticides than normal. Or they modify the seed so that the plant, when it grows and a bug goes to bite the plant, the bug dies.
Oh my God.
Isn't that nice? Okay? And then we eat those fruits and vegetables. So you kind of want to start thinking about what is it that I'm putting into my body. And we've talked, of course, about our sugar, flour, dairy thing. So you got to educate yourself, and you've got to really look at your foods. A lot of times we just depend. We say, you know what, Publix is my favorite grocery store. They would never do anything to harm me, right? Well, everyone's there to make money. And so you're the only person who can really go through and look at the labels. I did a wellness program for a fire department. I had 6 guys on high cholesterol meds. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a firehouse, but you know, when they sleep there, they all make meals, and they're really good at cooking, and so they tend to, whatever that shift is, they go out to the grocery store together, buy foods, and stock up and make a grandiose meal. So I took the guys to the grocery store to come to find out that the pasta sauce they used had high fructose corn syrup, the chips they bought had high fructose corn syrup, the crackers and the pasta they bought had high fructose corn syrup. So once we changed everything, most of those guys got off of their high cholesterol meds just by changing their foods. And that's really what we want to try to get here. So you've got to really, really start reading labels.